Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, channel leaders, welcome to an episode of Tatami Talk. My name is Juan. This is our partner, Anthony, the Judo podcast for Judo players by two Judo players. So, Anthony, how you doing?
You know how I'm doing. So, for those of you guys who listened last episode, actually got a lot of comments about that. I do have shingles. Yeah, it's on my butt. I think I mentioned it. It's on my butt. So I asked the doctor, like, is it contagious? Can I train? Can I teach? And he was like, I saw 3 doctors, right? First doctor was like, yeah, you can train. It's fine. It's covered up, right? As long as it's not in an exposed area. And I was like, oh, okay. And I kept doing uchikomi and nagikomi and all that kind of stuff that I've been doing. And then I went to see the doctor to clear me for surgery. And he's like, no, you can't have surgery. You can die because it increases your chances of getting an infection. So, but he also said it's not contagious, but you shouldn't be training because exercising is a stress that will make it worse. And I didn't listen to it. So I wasn't really training, but when I was teaching, I was like demonstrating stuff. So that I was like working up a sweat. And then that night it got worse. So
what's the more stress? The stress of working out or the stress of like I'm not getting to work out, so now I'm stressed out because I can't work out?
Yeah, but then it got worse. It got worse, right? It got worse, and then it was keeping me up at night. So then it's like a endless cycle because I wasn't sleeping. So so now when I demonstrate stuff in class, I'm like making sure I go real slow and I don't sweat. So that's a challenge. And there's also some family stuff that's happening. So it's actually kind of a blessing in disguise that I got the surgery canceled. Because now I got to take care of my family stuff first. So who knows when I'm going to get surgery, but at this point, I think this last year, because it's almost end of the year. Yeah, I've only trained like 2 months out of the whole year.
Actual training,
which is like the previous year was something like that, but that wasn't because I was sick. That was also because of family stuff, right? Because of my mother-in-law was passing, right? Yeah, so there was that, and also all the kind of travel. And speaking of shingles, she also had permanent nerve damage from shingles and suffered from that for 10 years. So I'm like, this itching and pain, I can't imagine like living with that for 10 years. It's like crazy.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Before I see the good news.
I was going to say one of the listeners mentioned a comment on shingles says, regarding shingles, you can't get shingles if you've never had chickenpox before. Yeah,
we've been having an argument for all our fans. We've been having an argument for the past month and a half now since he's had this stuff. Yeah, and like the whole dojo has put their 2 cents in it, so we're all arguing about this.
Your doctor unless he
had chickenpox as a kid, and his mom didn't tell him, and he doesn't know that he had chickenpox as a kid.
So he says shingles is a reactivation of the VZ virus. If you're having true herpetic shingle outbreak, what that means is you likely contracted chickenpox at some point. The virus is able to burrow, lay dormant in your nerves to be reactivated now. Not all people notice that they have chickenpox, as not often that pronounced, especially if you've been vaccinated for or misdiagnosed as something else. So, I mean, I also grew up having eczema. So I might have had like an eczema outbreak that in a small patch that I thought it was chickenpox. That they might have been chickenpox or something. But I don't know. So who knows? The point is, as long as I cover it up, it's fine. But I still like try to be careful.
That has to suck, man. But like I said, the good news is that since you're not going to get surgery now because of this outbreak, you're now going to go to the President's Cup to coach 2 of our members.
But as you know, my sister's flight got canceled.
Oh yes, I didn't think about that. Yes, you mentioned that. Guess who's driving and taking the train?
I'm actually considering it. If they cancel the train,
it'll be fun.
That'll take a long time. So I don't know. Like, there's a lot of moving parts right now. It's just too many things happening at once. This is why you should buy travel insurance, by the way. I'm just saying. I'm not too worried because I have travel insurance. So,
well, it's funny. One of my friends, he travels a lot. Like he flies all over the country all the time and shit for his job. And he put a post up on Facebook. Yeah, Facebook, not Instagram this time. But Facebook of like, of all flights, like canceled, delayed, canceled. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, there's still, this is going to be next weekend. Not this weekend, next weekend. So I don't think I want to take the car because if my shingles doesn't heal in time, I can't sit in the car that long.
Maybe get you a donut.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how it is. But we got a lot of good response last episode about the counter judo. A lot of people either said like, yeah, I hate that guy. It's funny because I saw people on Reddit complaining about people who just wait for counters, like how much they hate people like that.
Yeah.
And then there are people who also said like, oh, when I was a beginner, I was so reliant on it and I noticed it. So people had a lot of experiences with this, but no one really defended it. So I feel like
actually, no, because a lot of our members of our a handful of our members of our dojo that listen to our own podcast, we got a little offended by it. They're like, "Hey, I listened to your episode. Were you talking about me?" It's like, no, I wasn't talking about you. I was actually talking about me of all people.
You need to tell me afterwards who it is because I don't. I know a lot of people at the dojo listen, which is weird because no one actually like I know who listens to the podcast, but there are a few people who came up to us afterwards that I didn't know listened to a podcast. So I'm like, oh, you listened this whole time and you didn't mention it. So this was the episode. This was the episode which exposed you.
Yeah, this was a tipping point.
So, but I didn't really hear many people like not getting offended. Who's gonna come out and admit it, right? It's kind of embarrassing to be honest. But no one really came out and said like, oh, I do it because of this, or try and justify it. Anyway, but a lot of people that have changed or have been dealing with people like that came out and said stuff like that. So, yeah, I just find it interesting that no one actually came out again. So basically, I'm questioning whether this is reaching the audience that it needs to be reached. Right? There's no point in telling people that realize their error in the ways like, hey, we should stop doing that, right? But the people that are actually doing it, those are the people I want to listen to this basically, but the view numbers is not that high yet. But for how many views and listens that we got, it was actually a lot of people, like a lot of interaction. We're just talking about this. Like there's so much interaction the first like few days of the episode airing. Yeah, which was interesting. So, but this is why at the end of the year episode, I want to talk more about this, but. This is why we chase interaction. We talked about this. We want interaction and content that's helpful for people than views. Because we can always make something like, don't do these 3 things.
The top 10 most dangerous judo moves do. Yeah, why judo players can't grab legs anymore. Why are judo players scared of wrestlers?
Well, yeah, like if the podcast episode was counter judo, right? So... we could have been like, don't do this one thing to improve your judo. That could have been the title, but we don't do that. So
yeah. Oh, I love the ones where it's always like top 5 reasons not to do this move, and the last one will shock you.
And because people who have titles like that is giving me one big reason to not click on the video. Personally, I don't click on it. I feel like that's like how do I word this nicely?
Low hanging fruit.
Not low hanging fruit. I was about to say something else that is kind of rude, I thought. But I don't know. I feel like it's targeting a demographic that I'm not part of. Let's just say that. So my wife would always be like, why are you like scrolling through YouTube? Like click on the damn video. But it's because most of the internet now is those kind of titles, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then once in a while something would catch my attention. And I'm like, oh man, I really want to click this. And then I would guess what the actual content is, and 99% of the time I'm right, you know. And then I would close the video, but then I had to go back and go in my history and remove the video from my history. Otherwise, it starts recommending me more and more of this
stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah. So, yeah, but dead internet theory. Yep.
All right, so let's talk about some new stuff. So, as most of you all know, me and Anthony, we live here in Southern California. We're from Los Angeles. So the big thing that happened last week for us, well, not really super big for us exactly, for not baseball guys, was the World Series. All right. So the World Series happened. It was the Toronto Blue Jays versus Los Angeles Dodgers. LA won. So it was a really cool series and stuff. Everybody's getting into it. Like all of my news feed was just all Dodgers and Blue Jays stuff everywhere and on my feed. And I think one of the reasons why it came on my feed is because apparently one of the pitchers, Yamamoto, apparently was he had to, like, I can't find anything that says that he's a straight up judo guy, but he had to be a judo guy because apparently a lot of his warm-ups and warm feed I saw is that he just judo warm-ups. Now, I'm not saying he's doing like uchikomis and stuff, which have been really cool. He's doing uchikomis, the baseball bat or something, the baseball. But he does a lot of judo stretching, forward ukemis and stuff, rolling to stretch out his body for his warm-up. And he does a crazy warm-up if you look at it. It looks very like yoga, Pilates, judo, all that stuff mixed into there. But
they do that in wrestling too.
Yeah.
I was watching a Japanese wrestling, high school wrestling video, and they do those kind of same warm-ups.
Yeah, so it was just really cool that he was doing these judo things and showing how your judo workout can't just be for judo. You know, you can do it for other warm-ups for other sports. Because what's the correlation between judo and baseball? Throwing a fastball and throwing someone in a uchimata or something, you know? But I just thought it was really cool that they were doing that. I wonder if you got me thinking of if Otani also does judo, if they do uchikomis in the back for their warm-ups.
I know nothing about baseball. As of lately, I've been learning a bit more about baseball and how it works. I still don't understand the scoring. I just know I just learned the other day that it's 3 strikes and you're out.
Yes.
Yes. And I learned that a foul ball counts as a strike, apparently, right?
I know the basis of baseball. Okay, I'm not a big baseball guy either.
So the reason I learned is because, as you all know, like I study the ecological approach stuff. So I read all of Rob Gray's book, but I've been having to read it a second time because he uses a lot of baseball examples. Because he specializes in coaching the Red Sox and Cubs, I think. He was hired as a skill acquisition specialist for not NBA. What is the
MLB?
MLB, yeah. I was like NBB,
MBB, Major Baseball. I
was like National Baseball Association. That's basketball. MLB, yeah. So he was hired as skill acquisition specialist for them. So anyway, a lot of his examples are baseball examples, and there's actually one exercise that I wanted to use for judo, and I'm not going to get into it, but so I had to learn what the hell he was saying because he was talking about like bunts and then like why like heavier bats, lighter bats, like running the bases or like outfield, infield, midfield. Like I just had no idea what the hell he was talking about. So I had to actually study what these terms mean before I actually like went back and reread it so I know what the hell he's saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's to my baseball knowledge to an extent. And I didn't know Toronto had a baseball team. So that's
the Toronto baseball team is why it's called the World Series because I know it's always a very funny thing people always ask during World Series time because the Super Bowl is just the Super Bowl. You know, the NBA championships is the NBA championships, but the baseball is the World Series when the actual World Series is the Olympics or the World Classic thing, baseball classics. Like, I know you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, but
I have no idea. I just know Americans love to play sports that no one else in the world really plays. Baseball is the exception, right? But they play sports that no one else in the world really plays, or they don't have a team. And then
what are you talking about? No one else plays football? Real footy ball?
And then they call it the World Series and World Championships when it's like just amongst themselves.
But it's just really cool that Yamamoto he obviously did judo or grappling, most likely judo. I think he did judo and stuff. And he's just using that warmth that he used to use for judo to do his stretching and elongate his body for baseball to do pitching, which is like just crazy that you would think about doing one exercise for grappling, which is like really close in sport to be throwing a ball. It's just, I thought it was really interesting. And it's just really cool that judo was getting a little bit of play from right there that no other martial art was trying to steal it, be like, oh no, that's actually from this, or he's doing this from that or whatnot.
I mean, the kinetic chain movement can be similar. So I think the warm-ups can be similar and they cross over for that. extent. Now we're going to see people copying it just because, and then do it incorrectly, and then say, "Oh, I pulled my back doing this." You know, like,
Yeah, you watch his videos, it'd be very easy to pull his back. It'd be interesting if we did get some people that come to the dojo, be like, "Yeah, I heard that that Yamamoto did judo to help his fastball. So can I learn?"
Nah, they're gonna PJJ's gonna take credit for it, just like the football player that went. So I'm gonna learn judo and goes to a BJJ club to learn judo.
I will say this now. Now think about it. The way I do teach forward ukemis to pop up, I do always say you kind of finish in like when you're throwing a ball, you're throwing a pitch or something.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny now thinking about it. Yeah, I do say that. So, haha, connection right there for you.
You can take credit for it. Yeah,
I'll take credit for that. I was the first one to do it.
Yeah, everyone in the dojo was watching the match, and David was putting the phone on the bench next to the mat in Randori, and they kept asking me what the score was. And I didn't have my glasses on. The phone was small, and I didn't know it was baseball. But for those who
they scored a touchdown.
So for those who know, I live in Torrance, right, in LA. So when I looked over, I didn't have my glasses, so the LAD, which is LA Dodgers, I looked at LAO, and then the Toronto was TOR. So I was like, oh, Torrance is 5 and Laos. I was like, why is Torrance playing Laos? No, this is
Torrance
baseball.
is a team.
So I didn't realize. That's when I learned. I was like, oh, Torrance has a baseball team, because that's apparently what. Not Torrance. Toronto has a baseball. Yeah. I'm sure Torrance has a baseball team because the park by my house has a couple of baseball fields. So shout out to them. But did people play cricket there? That's what I played growing up. I played cricket, not baseball.
Oh my God. So look at this. Look at this hidey tidy guy right here. I played cricket. Sorry.
I like cricket.
I've actually never played cricket, but it is funny because I have had to use for one of my analogies for doing Ippon Sonagi or Ogoshi is these turning throws. I always use like golf or baseball. So I've had to expand it to cricket, hockey, and
but cricket you swing the bat very differently.
I know, but it's still, I'm just trying to get people visualize of like how much they move their body when they do it. That's why I'm just trying to get the visualization for them, the feeling of that. Because a lot of people when they do the Ippon Sonagi, you know how it is. They get them all the way to the top and then just drop them.
Yeah.
So that's why I used to be like, you know how you play golf? Not a lot of people play golf nowadays. And I'm like, well, you know how you play baseball or hockey or cricket? You know, you move your body all the way over when you hit that ball.
Yeah.
I'm not a baseball guy either. I'm from the Bay. Giants all day. All right. I don't care.
Isn't it a football team?
Yes, it is a football team as well. Funny story, I should tell you. Actually, I'm not going to get into it, but there is a football team named the Giants that's in New York, and San Francisco has the LA Giants. I mean, San Francisco has San Francisco Giants. They could have been the LA Giants. They moved to a different city when they moved to the West Coast.
So they're a baseball team also.
Yes.
How is there not like a copyright trademark?
Okay, so from what I remember, when I watched like a little documentary on this one day, a long time ago. The guy that owned so I don't know if it's the same guy.
We're going to have so much interaction.
I know. People are going to get so mad at this episode. Juan doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't know exactly what I'm talking about. All I know is I know a little bit of this, okay? The San Francisco Giants used to be New York, okay? So in New York had the football team, the Giants, and the baseball team, the Giants. Okay. So it's like, if you notice some cities, they try to do a thing where all their teams have like a little tied together theme sometimes. Like
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Like there's the Cubs is the baseball team, and then the Bears is the football team. You know, that's for Chicago.
But there's the Bears.
Yeah,
you're talking about American football, right?
American football,
okay,
yes.
All right.
Not footy. Talking about footy ball, okay? Okay, but whatever. In New York, there were both the Giants for the football team and the baseball team, but then they moved the baseball team to San Francisco. They kept the name, so it was the San Francisco Giants.
Why didn't they just change the mascot? I don't. Yeah, never mind. I'm not going to try. A lot of sports stuff doesn't make sense to me. So it's
just like how LA's Dodgers is an original LA team. It's from New York as well.
I know they were from Brooklyn. Yeah, because people won't. When I lived in New York, people wouldn't shut up about it. So
yeah. Well, it's the same thing with LA when the LA Rams moved to St. Louis. I think it is. Was it St. Louis? I can't remember what team where they moved to.
I thought it was LA Chargers.
No, okay. LA Chargers were original LA Chargers for one season, then moved to San Diego for many years, then moved back to LA, technically their home, and they're LA Chargers again.
Okay.
Teams move, man. Teams move. They don't change their names. When the only teams actually change their names and move
I won't
somewhere
go into a
was
sports team.
Baltimore.
I won't go into a sports team rant because I had this discussion with my father-in-law, which was like a huge sports fan, and I'm like, I just don't understand it. Like, especially when they trade players around all the time. I'm like, how? Yeah, never mind. Okay, let's.
How do you build a home somewhere?
That's basically what I said, right?
Oh yeah. That's why a lot of players still have a condo or apartment or something where they play at, but they'll actually live somewhere else in the off season.
Yeah, because in sports like judo, we are fans of the individual players, but we're not like a fan of it. Well, there are arguably some people are a fan of countries, but most of us would be like, oh, we like the player, not specifically the team. So
after all that conversation there, just talking about judo and baseball.
All right, so that's the end of this episode.
That's the episode right now. That'd be a really short episode. This would be another 0.5 episode. That's for you, Scotty. I know you're listening right there. Okay, another 0.5 episode for you. All right, so what are we talking about today, Anthony?
So for those who follow the Substack, oh, by the way, I need to announce that. I might as well announce it right now.
Yeah, so he finally moved everything to OnlyFans. You can check out his feet there.
No, we finally moved to beehiiv. Long story short, I mentioned it in a past episode, but I don't think I went into detail for the last few episodes. Substack has a dark pattern where they want me to charge people money, even though I don't want to charge people money. So what happens is, in order for me to gate the articles behind an email subscription, which is all I'm asking for, I wanted people to have like a wall, like make an effort to read the content, right? So in order to do that, I basically have to, people have to click the pay for a membership button. They'll say you have to pay for the membership, and most people are hesitant on clicking that or don't know that you don't have to pay. So they just choose a free subscription. So every morning when I wake up and have my coffee, I have to go in the dashboard, check who subscribed, and then like comp them like a free forever membership. That's basically what I've been doing. I'm sick of doing that, especially since the Substack's kind of growing faster. And I don't want to wait until it's too, like, it's not that big. I don't want to wait until it's too big before I move it. So beehiiv doesn't do the same thing. It also has kind of a dark pattern, but instead of gating stuff behind a subscription, it gates sections of the post. Like, you ever went to those sites that let you read like the first paragraph and then the rest of the paragraph is like, oh, you got to subscribe?
Yeah.
So beehiiv has that functionality. So now I just migrated everything to beehiiv. It's close enough to what I want it to be. And I also bought the domain name tatamitalk.com. And I think beehiiv also has a website functionality. So we're going to start adding more stuff there. But for now, the Substack blog has newsletter. I'm going to call it a newsletter because it's not really a blog. Has moved to beehiiv. So you can just go to tatamitalk.com. Everything is there. I also imported the previous subscribers list. So if you subscribe to the Substack, whenever I make new posts on beehiiv now, you'll still get the email newsletter. But if you go, I think if you go on the website, you're going to have to resubscribe because it's technically you didn't sign up to beehiiv, right? So all I did was I moved the email subscription newsletter over. That's that. And
now do I have to call you the Queen Bee?
Queen Bee? No, let's just keep calling it OnlyFans. It's fine.
Just call it OnlyFans.
But basically, when I wrote the Substack post, learning environment versus performance environment, it actually was more popular than I thought. And I think it was Jonah actually that linked it on Facebook because I was looking at the stats. I'm like, why did people click on this like 300 times? Like, so people clicked on it 300 times, which is unusual when it's a gated content, right?
Yeah.
Then I realized he posted on Facebook, a Facebook group, and people were most likely clicking it and then just realized they have to subscribe to read it and then just closed it.
Closed it immediately.
Which did exactly what I want to do because I was like, okay, if you can't take the effort to do this, then you're not the target audience that would read this and apply it, right? Because it's a pretty heavy, a long read, actually, relatively. But because of that, and also I got a lot of positive feedback and people saying that they want to send it to their friends and stuff like that. So on the beehiiv now, that post is public. Learning environment versus performance environment. So go read that. especially if you read it and now you think like your friends can use it or your coach, whatever. You can link that. And this episode is basically going to be talking about that post. And we're going to elaborate on it because when I write those posts, I don't want it to be super long because I want you to be able to use it. And going into detail, justifying everything, blah, 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 I don't do that. I kind of link to my sources a little bit. So we're just going to have this discussion how it relates to judo and our actual application of training and our philosophy and stuff like that. That's what this episode is about. Learning environment versus performance environment.
Yes.
Okay, that's out of the way. So tatamitalk.com, okay? That's what it is now.
Yes, we got it. It is a poor man's trademark. We own that trademark now, okay? If anybody else tries to come out with it, you're going to cease and desist letter now from Anthony. And
we
I know
actually had a few people.
What?
We actually had 2 people try use that name and people message it to us and was like, hey, these people is using your name. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, we didn't trademark it. It's fine.
Yeah, a little bit, it doesn't matter. If it's something big, we will say something, but we've really not cared so far. But again, I know a brand new lawyer, all right? And I want to test him out. All right, Anthony. So what are we going to talk about performance environment versus learning environment?
All these episodes where we talk about training ties together, right? So in the counter judo episode, we talk about how people are too afraid to try new stuff. Which kind of bleeds over to this topic. Basically, try and not talk about other topics that link to it. But in learning, we need like a learning environment and performance environment. Basically, kind of like how, if you imagine like learning math, we solve math problems, we do homework. That's like go to class. Well, that's a learning environment. And then when you take a test, that's a performance environment.
It's like in college when you go to the lecture and then you go to the lab. You know,
yeah, those are all learning environment. Performance environment is the exam, the test, where it matters.
I think so. I would think going to the lab would be performance. No, you do the work.
You do the work, but you're learning at the time. But then when you take a test, then everything is different, right? Because now, if you make a mistake, there's a cost, right? There's a cost to making a mistake. So that's why it's important to differentiate the two. And in the post, I basically talk about how people either don't use this concept or they misapply it, because most judo coaching sees it as like the drilling part, like the uchikomi, the nagekomi, the practice part is the learning environment, and then the randori is the performance environment.
Yeah,
and that's where the problem is, right? Because we talk about how in randori, all the coaches know this, so it's not a foreign concept. Most coaches are like, "Hey, don't treat it as a fight. Try new techniques, blah blah blah." And this is the time to try new techniques, right? But where that kind of contradicts is at the same time, coaches use the randori environment to evaluate people's progress.
Yes,
which means it's not it. Which means it's a performance environment. They're telling them to treat it as a learning environment by trying new stuff, which means mistakes will occur, right?
Yeah.
But they're using the randori as a performance environment to evaluate people.
It is funny because we do tell people like, try this, try that, try this. But then the players that kind of play it safe and do what they know they can do and know what worked and do a big throw, we're all like, yes, great job, amazing throw. Oh my God, ippon. And we're all happy for them. When the person tries something new that fails, like, you messed up right there. You should have done this. You should have done that.
This is something I'm trying to change in my intermediate class, which is really, 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 really hard because I only have them once a week, and then it's not even the other coach's problem at this point now. It's just the culture, because we already said most people don't compete. Only 12% of judo, on average, judo population compete. I think for our dojos, more like 5. And of that 12%, we know majority of them are kids, which means they're being forced by their parents to do it.
No, we don't force our kids, not us. We don't have no kids that compete. All right.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. So basically, people who willingly compete are very low. So to those people who don't compete, then randori is the performance environment, because you need a performance environment. That's how you evaluate your progress, right?
Yeah.
Because who cares whether you're making whether you're when you're trying stuff out, nobody cares if you win or not. Like in Rondery, no one cares if you win or not. That should be the case, right?
I don't know. I think people do care. I think people do
But
care a lot.
when you treat things like going back to what I said, if you treat something as a performance environment like Rondery, then now there's whether it's an ego thing or belt promotion evaluation, whatever, there's a cost if you mess up. So people will always stick to stuff that they're comfortable with. That we talked about that in counter judo. It's like, oh, I'm not getting thrown. I'm getting countered all the time. I'm just going to wait for a counter. Like, it goes back to what we've said. So that's why, like, it's like a contradicting each other, where coaches are telling people to try stuff and they want them to try stuff, but then they, how do you say it? A lot of coaches, specifically beginner coaches, will praise people for throwing people, no matter what happened. Like if they waited for a counter and then they threw them, they're like, nice, good job, that was a great throw. Like, so they're reinforcing the counter because they're just looking at the result. Yeah. But they're not looking at how they got there. And I think Travis Stevens actually a long time ago talked about this, and he even goes further. He uses most local tournaments as a learning environment. And he's like, these local tournaments don't matter. I don't give a shit if you win or not. So he's like, I would rather you try something when the opening is there and fail than wait for the perfect opportunity to happen to throw. Like he was like, I would yell at people for waiting for like the ideal opportunities to happen. Because if you fight someone better, those ideal opportunities don't open. So he takes it even further to that point. But here at local, people would, beginner coaches would just look at the throw, like, oh, you're throwing so-and-so, you must be good, blah, blah, blah. So that's the contradicting element to it. And which is why promotion kind of ties into it. Because if you evaluate people, we already mentioned it, if you value people based off of Rondery performance during a learning environment, then you're kind of incentivizing them to treat Rondery as a performance environment, which is a contradiction, right? So I think there really needs to be a shift in culture, which is before I changed topic. That's what I try to do in my intermediate class, and it's only been week 5 or week 6 right now, and it's really hard because I tell people I don't care if you throw the other person or not. I care whether you did what I want you to do. So if I said like attack, like the theme last week was attack while we had an inside position. Because we talked about the inside versus outside thing last week, and I said I would experiment with it. So I was like, attack while you have the inside position. There was like only 40%. It was roughly 40 out of a 30-person class. There was roughly only 40% people that were doing what I said. They're on the focus. Their attacks were failing, but I wanted them to see those openings and attack right as the opening occurs. So only 4% were doing it, and the other 60% was either straight up ignoring that focus, or they were gaming the rules by drop spamming attacks. So,
but they're again going for something that they know has a high success rate.
Yes. So they were like going back to what they're comfortable. What we talked about, they're going back to what they're comfortable with, what can throw the other person, blah blah blah. And I made it a point where I did not praise them or positively reinforce any sort of throws that happened that did not occur while inside position happened. So someone had inside tried to do a sweep or a standing Seoinage and it failed, I'd be like, good, that's what I was looking for. Someone who just did a drop Seoinage and threw the crap out of the other guy, I was just like, no. Like, I don't, no.
So you're nicer that way, where when people do that, when I do restricted Uchigomis or Randori stuff like that, I really tell people that's not what I said. That's not what I told to do. Like I would tell people directly, like, that's not what I said to do. It's not what we're working on right now. Yeah.
So you have to use negative reinforcement, not punishment, but you have to use negative reinforcement here, because if you don't say anything to those people that threw that way, then the throw becomes a positive reinforcement, which is like, oh, I threw him, that felt good, I'm gonna keep doing that. But if you specifically say no, and assuming they give a shit about your coaching in the first place, then hopefully they will change the intent of them doing it. But if they don't care about your coaching, they just care about throwing crap out of the other person, then no matter what you say, it's not going to help. So this is I always tell people, this is the time to make mistakes. Mistakes need to occur. If you're not making mistakes, then you're not learning. You're just performing at that point.
Mm.
And I tell this to the beginners too. Like, if you like, they keep saying, "I'm not doing this correctly. It feels like it's not doing it right." I'm like, "Good. That's what should happen, right?" Because if you can do it perfectly every single time, then I would make it harder. There's no point in you if you can do it 90% of the time. That means you're able to do it already in uh in that environment. So now I'm going to increase the difficulty, increase the resistance, everything, so that you can't do it every single time. So now we keep moving up the scale, right?
Yeah.
Scalability. So that's something that I think most coaches really need to understand is also mistakes need to occur. They're not stuff that needs to be removed by the coach specifically, right?
Well,
Because
like we always talk about putting restrictions on things, you know,
yeah,
forcing people to do the technique you want them to do. Like I know one of my big things when I do stuff like that is like I want people to the move of the day. I want people to work on that move. So that's why I have them do Yakuseko Geiko with only that move. And like we talk about when people do stuff outside that or don't do it correctly, I would tell them because they're adults, that's not what I want them to do. That's not right. That's not what I asked for.
yeah. So we talked about mistakes. Yeah, overcorrecting mistakes. People, again, this is something that coaches kind of already know, but a lot of them still do it, and beginner coaches too, because they'll be like, "Oh, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this."
Well, the
But
one thing with overcorrecting mistakes that I see sometimes with like beginner coaches,
mhm,
and that just are just like when I've gone to visit places and stuff, is when they talk so much that people do, like let them practice, let them try these things out,
yeah,
let them learn from doing this. Like, there's a Japanese saying for it, I can't remember what it is, but it's like they'll work it out themselves. Like guide them, but let them work it out.
yeah. So the thing is, correcting mistakes can become a negative reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So if the other person is constantly, let's say we're doing Uchimata Uchikomi, right? I mean, I wouldn't do that, but let's say we're doing Uchimata Uchikomi and the other person is consistently not getting it, like they're just completely wrong everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, your foot is here, your arm is not doing this, your this is this, and then they try again, blah blah blah, do this, and eventually they're just gonna be like, this is not my throw,
Mm-hmm.
right? Either that or let's say someone's a little bit more advanced and they're actually throwing people with the Nagekomi, but certain things aren't right. And you say, you didn't pull enough, you didn't turn enough, your foot didn't do this enough. If you keep going there to correct them, and I've seen this happen when I visit other clubs, eventually, especially the higher ranks that have ability to do this, they're just going to be like, okay, I'm going to work on my Sotogari Uchikomi. They go back to what they're comfortable with because you're going to come by and say, good, yeah, exactly like that, because they can do it already. They're just going to be like, yeah, I'm going to stop working on my Uchimata Uchikomi, because you're essentially punishing mistake by constantly coming over and correcting them and annoying them about it.
Yeah.
So people are going to revert back to what they're good at doing. So when a sensei comes by, it's like, yes, that's good. Yeah, just like that, right? So then now you got positive reinforcement for doing that. And then you go back to what you were good at not trying something new. So again, mistakes is something that is supposed to happen, assuming it's safe, right? Disclaimer, right? Assuming it's safe, it's supposed to happen. Obviously, too many mistakes is not good, but there should be like a ideal amount of mistakes. I'm not going to make an episode about it, but on the blog post we talked about desirable difficulty, and the other name for it is challenge point hypothesis. So there's like a sweet spot of difficulty that you want to hit.
Well, it goes into the thing of, well, if you already know how to do it, then why are you even here?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you here to learn judo if you already know judo? Like, why are you in beginner's class or intermediate, whatever? And it kind of goes into like how we right now have beginners, intermediate, advanced class. Like beginner to intermediate is like to really learn your stuff, you know, to learn judo. You make mistakes there. You're not going to be perfect. It's okay. We try to give you positive reinforcement. I give sometimes negative, goofy reinforcement to know people like, you're messing up, but it's not terrible. Okay. You're messing up, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Where if you go to like advanced class, you're working on more things on your own and stuff, and you're going to work on even harder techniques. So you have to have that confidence in your stuff that you're doing. And you build that with the beginners when you first learn, and your instructor telling you, hey, you need to work on this, or like how when people sounded during Randori will throw me, and I'll be like, hey, that's really close, that's good. I like your idea, but it's not working right now. Let's try to fix it. So it's just things like you have to be open to fix yourself.
Yeah. I think scalability is because sometimes people will be like, oh, so just let them figure it out, or the coach just doesn't do anything, which is not true, because you as a coach now have to pick which mistake do I point out and which one do I not.
Yeah.
And then at what point do I make the exercise more simple? Because if they're not getting it, you need to simplify the task, which is different from, again, we talked about task decomposition versus, you don't want to break it down. That's like the last tool I would use. You want to simplify the movement instead of breaking it down. And one of the things I do very often when I teach Uchimata is I change the grip, because some grips are easier to maintain than the others. So that's one thing I do. I would change the grips before I would even consider breaking down the footwork and all that kind of stuff, because that's not a good way to learn. So you can, as a coach, these are the decisions you have to make. Like which mistakes do I fix? Which do I point out? When do I simplify the exercise? When do I make it more complicated? That's where the coach steps in, because I have also seen some schools that kind of go the opposite end, which is like, all right, like they give them a lot of freedom on their own technique, either with open mat session or whatever. And people would practice something like for 10 minutes and then be like, oh, okay, I think I'm good. And then they just do something else. We see this too in open mat, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to teach them something. They're like, can you teach me Ashiguruma? And then I'll be like, okay, this is how you do it. And then now do it. Like, instead of increasing the resistance, now they're just like, I think I'm good. I didn't go back to working on something new. So
teach them a different hand placement, different grip, a different step.
Yeah.
They do a few uchikomis of it and like, okay, yeah, I got that. Now I know it. Then they revert back to doing something else or what they feel more comfortable at. Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure about this, but I feel like in their head it's kind of like, again, a blame to the belt system, is that they feel like they're collecting techniques. It's like, okay, all I need to do is collect a lot of techniques and then I can get promoted, or I will get better, or I'll have more options open during randori, which is not the case, because this is where deliberate practice comes in. Deliberate practice is not supposed to be fun. Like you're supposed to struggle a lot and spend countless amount of hours, which does not mean drill the same uchikomi for countless amount of hours. It's like you're scaling up and down the complexity. You're adding, removing different constraints and stuff to make this like really, really hard. And you just got to grind it. So this whole like, oh, I'm doing a little bit of uchikomi here, a little bit of like ashiguruma there, doing a little bit of this here. And it's fun. It's makes you feel like you got something. But then if you don't increase the difficulty, then you're going to just not pick up the skill, basically. Because how many people have we seen teach certain thing? Once they get the movement, they say, okay, I'm gonna do something else, and then they try to do it in randori. I'm like, you just went from like 10 to 100. That's not gonna work, right? You might get it to work, some people, right? But again, survivorship bias, not everyone does that. So yeah, I think we're drifting too far into
a little bit off
difficulty. Yeah, but so to summarize, it's not just training versus competition, right? And we already kind of touched this, but I want to go deeper into it. I think this is also important, and also all the high level people already kind of understand this, is that they treat local, and since Philippe says this all the time, like local competitions are a staging area. It's like the rehearsal for the real thing that matters, right? Which is why if you're we see this all the time. People are like, oh, I need to do more training, more randori before I go compete. If competition is your ultimate goal, like you're like, I want to be senior national champion, you should be competing all year round. Like every single tournament should be happening, right? You should be going. You shouldn't be like, yeah, I'm just going to compete once every 6 months, you know? Like, because competition is a separate skill. We hear that all the time too. But during these small tournaments, you also, well, obviously, as you get closer to the real thing, you're going to have to treat it more like a performance environment, like closer and closer. You actually try to win.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, let's say the competition's at the end of the year, and in the beginning of the year, you should be trying different stuff out, different strategies, and all that kind of stuff. So,
And it's okay to try this stuff out.
yeah,
That's one thing I just want to. I got to reiterate that it is okay to try these things out. It is okay to fail. Okay, it is
yeah,
definitely okay to fail at your dojo. Okay, and I know some people aren't going to be going to winter nationals, summer nationals, fall nationals, whatever nationals there are that you want to go to and stuff, Golden State or any other big tournament. If you want to work on stuff, it is okay to fail and try stuff at the dojo. That's what it's there for. Okay. You don't have to win every round. It's like the whole thing of like being a dojo champion, you know? You don't have to win every round, but if you want to work on stuff, it's okay to lose and expect to maybe get reversed or misstep or pushed
hmm
over when you do try these new things. It's so that when you do go to big competitions, when you do go to summer nationals or USA national stuff, then you won't mess up there because now your thing is solid. It is packed down, you know it, and you can do it inside out from left or right.
yeah. I will also say, like, not in terms of like belt promotions, but in terms of, because one thing as a coach is, how do I know what I did these last few months or last few weeks is working, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's for the whole class or for an individual. So you have to look. We have to look at the performance environment, because we talked about how mistakes are normal in learning environments. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to look at the performance environment to see whether what you're doing is working. And a lot of times, like I'll use a worst case as an example. I'm not going to go in the middle, the more less obvious cases. Worst case is, let's say you were drilling, the guy was drilling Uchimata the whole time. This
Mm-hmm.
whole last 3 months drilling Uchimata. Then you go to a tournament. All right, let's test it out. Let's see if what we drilled works. The guy wins the whole fight with counters and drops it in.
Doesn't do one Uchimata, only does drops, only does
Yeah.
Uranage.
Yeah. And then they get gold, right? So you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that coach must be great. Let's keep doing what we were doing the last few months. It's like there's totally no connection
Yeah.
there. So that's an extreme example. But for me as a coach, it's like this is why you can't use competition as a you can't use learning competition as only gauge of progress, or
Mm-hmm.
whether what you did worked or not. Because we deal with sandbaggers all the time. We deal with size differences because sometimes they don't have enough people in the weight class to combine it.
Mm-hmm.
That day they're not in a good mental space. Like, there's also a psychological part, right? So how the psychological part
It's just performance
doesn't
anxiety
sit,
sometimes, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. So that is another variable. Um, and also like the other guy's experience, right? You might have just done judo for 6 months. The other guy's done it for 3 years. So that says nothing about what you did worked or not. So in order to evaluate whether what you're doing in the learning environment is working or not, in the performance environment, you have to see, again, not whether the person throwing the other person, it's whether these skills are emerging. So back to my example of last week, we talked about attacking off the inside position. So
Mm-hmm.
in the performance environment, if I say, okay, there's stakes for this, whether it's an in-house tournament or an actual tournament, I'm not looking for whether they throw or not. I'm looking for whether they're attacking as soon as they notice that they have the inside position, right? So that's what, if I see that, I'm like, great, that's working. We need to keep doing that. And then if they're not throwing them, then that's something we'll have to work on down the road. But noticing those opportunities is like the first step to opening the doors to different attacks. So um, that's I think that's what we need to do is for beginners, specifically beginners. This is obviously more focused on recreational people and beginners and not high level coaches, because they won't need to focus on these kind of things. But we need to look at whether what we're doing is working based off of, in the performance environment, is, are these skills that we were working on actually emerging,
Mm-hmm.
right? If it's not, then again, as a coach, this is where like the experience of the coach comes in. Is, do I just need to do more of that, or do I need to do something else because it's not working,
Yeah.
right? Or whether it's the, because we earlier in the episode we talked about how some people just aren't coachable because they just do their own thing no matter what you
Mm-hmm.
say. So you gotta separate all this out. Is it the student's fault? Is it what we're doing's fault? Like it's not working, or we just need to do more of it? So you need to kind of figure that out. And there's no real hard science to it. It's just a lot of experience. And being able to talk to people and get a connection with the athlete is really, as a student, is really important.
I know you feel deeply about this stuff. So that's why I just let you talk and get my two input. But yeah,
because I talk to people, right? I talk to other coaches, and some of them are like, I taught Ippon Seoinage last week, and then next week they're throwing people with Ippon Seoinage. Back to the instructionals we talked about. It's like, it's not the instructional. Like, it's not. It's like that's not what you should be looking for, right? So, I mean, it could be, right? It could be. Yeah, we drilled Ippon Seoinage a lot last week. Now tournament week, you threw someone Ippon Seoinage, right? It goes back to what we said. It could be an occasion. It could be a accident, right? Because, like we said, people can just spam draw Seoinage and then attribute it to the standing Seoinage practice, which
well, if I
so there's
do
a lot of issues there.
10,000 Ippon Seoinages in the tournament, I'm bound to get one of them. All right.
And I'm speaking as someone who went through this because I did so much Uchimata, different sorts of Uchimata drills, exercises, and it did not emerge like it during the every time I went to the tournament, I got countered when I lost every tournament where I tried to do Uchimata, and I won every tournament where I did not try to do Uchimata. Not one, but I won matches. Right?
Were you doing drop Seotoshi instead?
I was doing Ochigari, Taitoshi, Ogoshi, like different types of throws that I'd never practiced really because I'd spent all of my time on Uchimata. Then it's probably a sign that the Uchimata practice I was doing for the last 5 years was not working, which is I got from instructionals from Uchimata Legends, right? So that's essentially what I'm saying, which is why I deep dove into these kind of topics and stuff. So yeah, you have to know, and sometimes the drill just doesn't work for that student, or just that particular student, or somehow the way you word the cues didn't work, or maybe it's too easy for them, so they're not getting anything out of it, or it's just only works for short people or tall people. So it's definitely something that coaches' experience really matters. So, but I think the hardest part is definitely changing the students' mentality.
It's always gonna be hard, and you can't get discouraged as an instructor.
Yeah,
because you might lose some students. That's kind of things where you got to take that sacrifice. That if I want the people to evolve and get better, I need to actually guide them in the right direction. And if you might lose some students from that, that's how it's going to be. You know, it goes back to the thing with the counter judo. Like, you're going to get some people that love doing judo, but they love only doing counter judo. You know, it's like if I can get someone with this Tanya Toshi, or if they come from a wrestling background, they just do Uranage, everybody that comes in with a bad throw, or they know how to use their hips. It's just, you got to, like I said, like what we both do. I think you do. We both do it differently. So, but we do it very similar, where we give them like restrictive movements of like, okay, you can only, like I said, my move of the day, you can only do this move of the day in this way. You know, you're both attacking just this move of the day. And I'll add things like different hand grips and stuff, different foot placements, how to enter in. But it's just about helping people to evolve to get better at judo, you know, and just opening up their eyes that there's more to judo than just 5 moves.
Yeah, I want to use the beginners class as an example, because I've been teaching that for 3 or 4 years, right? 3 years now. Well, I don't have full control of it now that we split it up. But I always tell beginners that come in, I'm like, my beginner classes is not meant to make you good. It is not meant to make you good at throwing people. It's designed to make you good at falling. Like my whole thing is about getting you to take real falls, not pretend falls, which is what most judo clubs do when they teach break fall. Is like they're teaching them how to take pretend falls, like throws where you have control of when you're falling, how you're falling, or you know when it's coming. So I'm using real throws, but then people, and I have to also tell them every single time before we play a game, like this skill is what we're trying to develop right now, whether it's falling or whether it's chest to back contact or whether it's fighting for hip position. I tell them that's the skill I'm looking for. I don't care if you throw the other person or not. Like if you throw the other person without getting a tight hip contact, then I don't give a crap, right? because you start seeing people doing haraigoshi. I even saw people start doing uchimata without me ever teaching it to them. And I'm like, that's great, but you didn't do the hip contact, which means what you're doing is not listening to the task focus I gave you. You're just trying to throw the other person no matter what, which is not what we're looking for in that scenario, right? So it's like you're just focusing on throwing, and then you randomly this other skill emerge, which is fine if you're doing going fully ecological approach and stuff. But in that instance, I'm just looking for this one skill. So I try to make it really, really, really you really have to focus the student's mentality. And when you do that and people still ignore you, that's when you know, like, okay, like this guy's like totally not listening to me. So there's only so much you can do. Summarize, that's the hardest part. Changing the student's mentality to not winning and trying new stuff. And I think one other good way to do it, which is why I might do it in intermediate class now, is I'm going to be like, all right, testing happens. Not testing for belt, but just like testing what worked or not happens every 3 months. And then we do like a mock GI or something like that. And then loser has to buy the winner ice cream or something on the line, right? Something on the line that's on the line.
You ever get that bottle of sake from Richard?
Yeah. No, I never got it.
You never got the bottle of sake?
But this reminds me of something I didn't mention is like, if you review people based off of competition and randori performance, it will leave behind people who started judo with below average athleticism. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because those people might not be able to throw these people, but that does not mean your drills and stuff that you were having them practice does not work. It's just they're not strong enough, they're not fast enough, they just need more time compared to these people who have done other sports before. So that's another problem with that kind of thing, which is why I'll summarize it with this is if American judo wants to grow, then they really need to change this this mentality, basically, because it's actually the competition winning randori aspect of it is causing more injuries and driving a lot of people away from the sport. So the process of learning doesn't have to be fun, but it has to be stimulating. And then at the end, when you do the performance environment, people should be able to look back at that end and be like, wow, I actually got good. And it should not happen during the learning environment. Like I also tell people this in a beginner's class. I'm like, if you walk out of here feeling like you got better, then I did something wrong.
I hate when you do that. No.
I know, but no, seriously.
You let them feel good about themselves.
Yeah, there's I will say there is room for that. Like sometimes I'll make them do something super easy so they leave feeling good, but I know it doesn't do anything for their learning. So there's room for that because you want them to keep coming back, right? Because if they leave feeling like shit, even though they did what on paper or on based on theory is ideal learning, but if they leave feeling like crap, then they're not going to come back, which is what really differentiates, I think, serious athletes from recreational athletes is they know they're investing in loss and a dividends will come months later down the road. They don't need this like coddling, right?
Yeah.
But for recreational athletes who don't understand this or they're just doing it for fun, then you can't do this. Like you have to give them a treat once in a while, even though it's bad for them. But yeah, but the thing is they have to come back, right? So
yeah. I think that's where one thing I think we are kind of different when we talk about this stuff. Like I use a lot of positive reinforcement. I use negative reinforcement, goofy reinforcement stuff. But I feel that you need to be nice, a certain amount of niceness sometimes. Even though people say I'm not nice, I try to be nice. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we end this? All right.
Yeah.
All right. So remember to please like, share, subscribe. You can follow me, _Juan on Instagram. You follow Anthony Throws on Instagram. You follow Tatami Talk itself on Instagram at Tatami Talk. You follow us on a YouTube channel, Tatami Talk. You can watch all our videos there, all our exercise stuff, our throwing videos, our unsafe series. We're not gonna make no videos for a while because Anthony has a little thing on his butt right now, so I can't throw him.
Yeah. The next series we finished the Kemi series on Substack. Now beehiiv. I'm just gonna call it the newsletter. So the next series is I mentioned some yet to be named eco series.
And all this will be on our new beehiiv Tatami Talk website.
Newsletter.
All right.
Yeah.
Newsletter. We got to use the new thing in newsletter. And
because
like always, if you guys want us to send us emails, things you want us to look at, things you want us to go over, things you want us to talk about, we're always open to that stuff. You can always hit us up at tatamitalk@gmail.com. All right.
Yeah. We can't say Substack anymore. We're just saying newsletter.
Yeah, just newsletter now. Okay. His OnlyFans. Or
we're still using Threads.
Thread. God, I post stuff on Threads. I get no response on that.
I started using it more, like reading. I started reading it more. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I tried using Threads because I thought that was gonna be the next big thing. Then Blue Sky came up. I want to see how Blue Sky went, and so I think just that style of social media has gotten so broken up with all those, with how many are out there now,
which is good. In my opinion, is a good thing. Decentralization is always a good thing.
It's good. But to me, it's just like, man, do I have to make a Blue Sky now? Should I still make an X for us? I put things on Threads all the time. I get very low interaction on it. There's other ones that someone sent to me like, hey, are you guys gonna make one of these? I'm just like, I barely even heard of that one. So let me do some research into it. Look into it. I'm like, it's not really our division right there. It's not really our stuff, but I don't know. But what we do always get good things is always on the Instagram. I've been advised by my tech guy not to do TikTok.
Well, yeah, of course. It's you just don't use TikTok. But we won't get into it. TikTok.
All right. So with all that, please don't forget to
go to tatamitalk.com and leave it and subscribe to the newsletter, right? And slap the mat.